everybody, Captain Murphy here from PiratesAhoy.net. Today I'm going to give kind of a quick overview of the gun firing point system. The system is going to allow us to determine what cannons can go at what positions on a ship based off of the modeler's original intention. So you can have a modeler place a locator on the ship object that will allow us to determine that there is a cannon at this location. There will be a corresponding file going with the ship that then says that this cannon, or I should say this firing point object, has these cannon statistics. So the gun port is a minimum and a maximum of this high, a certain width, and you have a certain amount of recoil distance available, things like that. That way, when we get to the point of adding cannons to the ship through the shipyard system, it will know that a certain cannon has a certain barrel height, a certain barrel diameter, a certain carriage length, overall length. So there's all these little statistics that you could have that could then limit the placement of certain guns. So rather than having to worry about just having every 18-pounder be a certain height, or making sure every gun matches a certain height, we can make it so that people would be able to design their own ships with very low gunnels, or have certain ships with very tiny portals that they can put only small guns through. Things like this that weren't possible originally would be available because you could design a gun then to fit certain parameters that would only be usable in certain situations. So you won't be putting a 42-pounder through this hole, not just because the file says, you know, only 18-pounders. It's because a 42-pound barrel is just a little too large for this opening, or the 42-pound carriage is too tall for this opening, something along those lines. So you won't be quite as limited on what the ships can do then. And the interesting thing is, certain ports might have different statistics even though they're on the same deck. So we're looking at this first gun here. You'll notice that in its stowed position and recoiled position, it's pretty close to that opening, which means it doesn't have a lot of room to recoil back, so you couldn't put a very powerful gun in this position. However, these have a much longer recoil run area, so you could very literally have a larger or a more powerful gun in this position than you would in this one. Therefore, you can have a little more customization ability on these guns. Now, these guns are the wrong size. These are supposed to be 6-pounders up here instead of, these are 18s. The problem is I don't have any 6-pounders yet, so we're still working on those models. And right now the 18s don't look bad. They're just a kind of a placeholder to get the guns moving and watch them in action. So anyway, so the firing point system is pretty neat, as well as it tracks what is attached to the firing point. So right now a firing point knows that there is a gun port lid attached to it, and it does this inside the script when the ship is imported. If a firing point name matches a lid name, then it puts them together in the firing point. So it knows that the firing point for this cannon is the same as the one that's for this lid. In order for this gun to run out, that lid has to be open. In order for that lid to close, the gun has to be stowed again. So they both rely on each other for information. And I'm going to show you real quick, just a quick demonstration. I'm going to run the guns out, and you'll notice that the upper decks ran out because they don't have a gun port in the way. Now, in my upper left corner, you can see I've got three little bits of information. I've got an auto fire telling it that the guns will go into auto fire mode, and I've got a lid status of closed and a gun status of ready. So the lid status of closed means that the gun lids are going to be in the closed position. A gun status of ready just tells the guns that they can run out if they are loaded. Well, right now, the upper decks can run out because they don't have a gun port lid in the way. The lower decks, however, have a gun port lid, so in order for me to run them out, I have to tell the gun port lids to open. And so as the gun port lids open up, then our guns are going to run out when they're ready. So now if we want to close those gun port lids, I can tell the gun port lids to go to the closing position, telling them that when you are available to, go ahead and close. There we go. The positions have a status next to them, so they won't close until a certain status is met. Well, right now that means that these guns are in the way. So I'm going to retract the guns, pull them in their stowed position, and as soon as they reach their stowed position and they report that they are stowed, the gun port lids are going to close themselves. So now we've got an interaction between the ship object and the gunport lid objects. And it's a two-way interaction. So even though this cannon is a completely separate system, it interacts with the ship system's fluid. And later on, we're going to get into like the batteries and all that stuff, which will complicate the system, but it's going to be very easy to understand once we get it all together. So anyway, this is just kind of a quick overview of the firing point systems and how they interact with each other. And we're going to cover, in the next couple of videos, we're going to cover the cannons themselves, and we're also going to cover the cannonballs because that's actually a pretty complicated process. So I hope you enjoyed it, and remember to go to piratesahoy.net for more information, and Hearts of Oak Game to keep up with the news. Thanks.